Hallelujah. Hallelujah. All right. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shanquilla Carter or Shanquilla, One Vision Ministry going forth. Abba Yah, we thank you for this Shabbat. Um, Hopefully, I'm able to be heard clearly, and I know that sometimes some things can be offensive. That is not always the goal, but if it suits your purposes, then let it be. Um, I want to deal with order and practical application. May you guide me and direct me, and if I step out of line, stop me and make it be known right in this transmission that that's not what you're saying. Let me go forth in your will. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Shabbat shalom. All right. So I was having a little issues at first getting on live with through my Zoom. So I'm ready to go though. So as I said, my topic is order and practical application. There are many things in the law that I see debated regularly on Facebook. And I think a lot of people ignore the practical application. I know that they look at the modern times and things of that nature, and so that has an influence on how they view the text that was put out a long time ago. So, for one, we look at creation. Right now, we will see all these talks about, I guess, that, woman is God and things of that nature. And you even hear that in the community that we're a part of. And that's amazing because that means that the book that we're reading would have to be off a little bit for that to occur. The structure of how the dynamics of creation happen in the book that we read, many call it the Bible. In the Tanakh, in Genesis or Bereshit, it says that the man was created, and then the woman or womb man came up out of the woman. So let's go share the screen and let me go and just get to talking about this a little bit. Well, maybe first I should share some definitions. Let's do that first. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and I'm gonna share some definitions first. And that, okay. The word order, I'm going to use the English definition because most of my audience speaks English. Most of my audience is in America. So go with order. It says a condition of logical or comprehensible arrangement among the separate elements of a group. The second definition, a condition of methodical or prescribed arrangement among component parts such that proper functioning or appearance is achieved. Third definition, condition or state in general. So let's go over here to Bereshit and look at something with order. And Elohim said, let us make man. He was not talking about man alone, as far as the male alone, but mankind in our image, according to our likeness. Well, this is my belief that he was talking about mankind, because the process wasn't complete with just the man, and that's it. He continued with the process. There were different stages to this situation. So again, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness, and let them. So again, them. Male on male does not produce anything. Female on female does not produce anything as far as life. So you have to have the male and the complementary part of the woman. So let them rule. Let's have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over all the creeping creatures that creep on the ground. And Elohim created the man in his image. In the image of Elohim, he created him. Male and female, he created them. And Elohim blessed or Baruch them. And Elohim said to them, be fruitful and increase. Most know, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish and over the sea and over the birds of the heavens and over all creeping creatures of the earth. So again, the male and female order. So I'm gonna step over here to Bereshit 2 and go and say, see right here, it says, and Elohim or Yahuwah Elohim formed the man out of the dust from the ground and breathed into his nostrils, breath of lives, and the man became a living being. So go further down. Here in 18, it says, and Yahuwah Elohim said, it is not good for the man to be alone, and I am going to make a helper, a complementary person for him as his counterpart, not another male, but he took out of this man, or out of the womb of this man, a woman, womb man. And from the ground, Yahuwah Elohim formed every beast of the field. Oh, well, let me skip back that. Let me see. Let me go down. 21. So Elohim caused a deep sleep to fall on the man, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh in its place. And the rib which Yahuwah Elohim had taken from the man, he made into a woman, womb man, and he brought her to the man. And the man said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. This one is called woman because she was taken out of man. Okay. So I'm dealing with order and practical application. The male part was existing first. When the order of giving dominion, be fruitful, multiply, all of that, then the woman was brought up out of him. She's complementary. She was a helper. Not saying that she's not able or that she does not have ability, but she was a complementary piece that was given. She came up out of him. So in order, he would be over her. They both are the ones to have, dominion. They got to come together to be fruitful and multiply. Coming together, sex, intimacy. The man still would be the one in order. And that's the one that, when you look through the text, was given the directive directly from Yah. Then the woman pulled up out of him. That man was leading or supposed to lead over that woman. That's the order of operations. That man was created first, or the male aspect was highlighted first. They both were created at the same time, you might as well say, because she was inside of him, but she was pulled up out later. All of that did not happen at the same time. The man was, the whole being was working and doing everything, and then the woman was pulled out to be complementary. He was around all these animals and all these other things, but did not have anything similar to him. Not exactly. He didn't get a man out of the situation. There was not two masculine entities together. That doesn't work. So the feminine attribute, order. So let's again go at a definition. Practical. They're looking up practical. First definition says, of relating to, governed by, or acquired through practice or action, rather than theory or speculation. Two, manifested in or involving practice. Three, capable of or suitable to being used or put into effect, useful. Women are practical, are able to do what men can do. But there are some things in place that are obviously hindrance to them doing exactly what men do. You have physical strength. The men usually are born with more physical strength. Then the dynamics of being fruitful and multiply. The men sow the seed in the woman. Women have a menstrual. When a woman becomes to, gets to the point of maturity, and that would be birthing age or breeding age, she basically, now that she's able to breed, her body starts shedding off blood, menstrual. In the time of the menstrual, a woman is unclean. When time of sex, they're both unclean for that moment until they clean off. But a woman has a natural cleansing of her body that occurs with the menstrual that has her monthly unclean. So how would she be, I guess, though she can do ministry, she can do things practically, it kind of doesn't work as well. The order is for men to lead, but when the woman is, basically in that unclean state regularly, it's not practical, not as practical. Though she has the ability, it's not as practical. When she gets pregnant, she's kind of vulnerable for 9 months. She needs a covering, and that's what a man is supposed to be, practical. See, logically, you can think on some of these things, but a lot of times the feeling part comes in. When you get to the feelings and stuff, that the emotions, you say, oh, well, women can do this, women can do that. But a lot of times in doing those things, what do they sacrifice? Being fruitful and multiplying. They stop having children, or they put that to the side. And they end up doing that in later age when their bodies are not the strongest anymore. At their earliest age, when they start breeding, their body is ready for that. And the longer they wait, the more their body is deteriorating or not as strong, or the process is fleeting, is getting to the point where it's going to stop. Men can produce many times way late in life. Biblically, we see that the situation like with Sarah, that woman was barren up into her 90s, I think it was, and then she had a son. Her husband had a seed, and that was proven when his wife gave him her helper, or her servant Hagar. He was able to, his seed was good. It's just she was not producing. That right there hits the note of polygyny. If the first command was to be fruitful and multiply, and you end up with a barren woman, you can have a barren man, but if you have a barren woman and you're supposed to be this high character man, you can't produce that in your home naturally. Yeah, they say, well, you can get disciples or you can get someone else's son, but then again, that child is still not yours. It's a product of another man. It's not practical. You can train up another man, but it's not your child. Their loyalty still should lie to their own family, their own father, practically. And that's actually order that son should obey his father, honor his father and his mother by allowing another man that position. In a sense, he's dishonoring his own father and mother because now he's leading his life to further the ways of another man. In that day and time, polygyny made a lot of sense. Modernly, I don't see it as practical because a lot of men are seeking out polygyny not to produce children, to be fruitful and multiply. They want to dominate women of all things, or explore their sexual selves or whatever. And I'm not the one to draw fault in that. It's not my place. But I do believe that the purpose of polygyny originally was to be fruitful and multiply. So if you're going forth in polygyny and not planning on having any children, you're just adding wives. I really don't. I don't see the purpose. I don't see it as practical. Me myself, I may have had the desire for those things, in my youth or whatever, to have a lot of women and stuff like that. But if I was not going to be producing children or raising up a generation, what's the real reason behind it other than my own selfish endeavors? Just a thought. Just a thought. Let me see where I'm at here. All right, I'm gonna go over here and read the definition of dominion. Since rule or having dominion was a part of the original command for man. All right. Dominion here. Dominion. Yeah. When you get on live, that's when your phone gets to going off, stuff like that. And don't let stuff distract you and break you from what you're doing. Stay on task, stay on purpose. Dominion, control or exercise of control, sovereignty, rule, to a territory or sphere of influence or control, a realm. 3, a self-governing nation under the nominal rule of the British monarch. That definition, whatever. All right. I'm going to deal with breeding right here, too. Breeding. Okay. One's line of descent, ancestry, to upbringing or education, especially in proper social behavior. 3, the production of offspring or young. Breeding, sowing your seed. When you're being fruitful and multiplying, you're sowing your seed, looking for a harvest. If you're just, mating or connecting, with women just to be connecting with women, not saying there's nothing wrong with that, but it's like that's not operating under the first command. That first command is to be fruitful and multiply. You're probably having selfish pleasure, but not my place to beat you up about it. Do what you do. But again, yeah, yeah. Let me see. I'm gonna go over here and I kind of want to deal with this uncleanliness of the woman or the man. Let me see. I'm gonna just read a little bit. I'm over here at Wayikra or Leviticus 15, and I'm gonna be at 18, verse 18. So let me share my screen here and just process this a little bit. So it says, and when a woman lies with a man and there is an emission of semen, they both shall bathe in water and be unclean until evening. And when a woman has a discharge, and the discharge from her flesh is blood, she has to be in her separation for 7 days, and whoever touches her is unclean until evening. So again, a woman can minister and do all these things. She can have the ability, but if she has a normal flow, so you already have the sexual situation that kind of sets both of them in unclean for a day. Not that the bedroom is defiled, but you have that emission of semen. You don't want that to get on anybody else, whatever. Clean that up and sit yourself to the side. But the whole thing with the menstrual thing, even if her husband deals with her, touching on her and stuff like that, he becomes unclean. That woman is not available for ministry. How could she be the lead minister when there's something like that? Again, like childbirth. And I know that it's common to always go to the story of Deborah or Deborah and say, oh, well, she was a leader. And I'm like, why do we always want to make the exception into the rule? That's not practical. That's not order. And the reason I say that she was in that position was because Israel was out of order. When you have a head that's not in its proper place, someone has to take hold of that thing to get it under control. And Yah was seeking out a man, but the man was reluctant. Let's go over there. I'm like, to me, I think people choose not to read what's right before them, and it's pretty simple to do that. But I just don't get why people don't see that that's what's happening. Let me go over here. I'm gonna go over to Judges. Judges. Hmm. Judges. I think it's Judges 5 should be. That's where it is. Let me go over here. Judges 5. Share my screen, but let me go to Judges 5. It might be. Is it 4? Judges 4. It might be 4. Yeah, I think it's 4. Let me go over here. Share my screen. All right. Let me see. I'm gonna even start from the beginning. Why not? And when Ehud was dead, the children of Israel again did evil in the eyes of Yahuwah. So again, they're out of order. They're not walking in righteousness. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And Yah, of course, is all about order. So if you're in disarray, ain't doing what you're supposed to do, he gonna grab a hold of somebody to get it in order. Therefore, Yahuwah sold them into the hand of Jabin, the sovereign of Canaan, who reigned in Hasor, and the commander of his army was Sisera, who was dwelling in Harosheth, Hagoyim. And the children of Israel cried out to Yahuwah because he had 900 chariots of iron, and for 20 years he harshly oppressed the children of Israel. So 20 years they under duress. And Deborah or Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth. So she's a wife, so she's got a head, was ruling Israel at that time. She was the one that had, I guess, greater application of the will of Yah at that time. And she was dwelling under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Beth El in the mountains of Ephraim. And the children of Israel came up to her for right ruling. So again, none of these men had the connection with Yah, or they were not operating in their position. And she sent and called for Barak, son of Ben Noam from Kadesh in Naphtali, and said to him, now listen to what she said. Has not Yahuwah Elohim of Israel commanded? Commanded who? Well, she's asking him a question. Has not Yahuwah Elohim of Israel commanded? Go, and you shall draw towards Mount Tabor, and shall take with you 10,000 men of the sons of Naphtali and of the sons of Zebulun. Again, she's asking Barak this. She's asking him a question that he must be the one that has the answer. So Yah had told this man, get together 10,000 men of your people, because see, it said he was of Naphtali, and go handle some stuff. But this man rejected Yah's word, didn't want to hear it. He didn't want to step into the order. He didn't want to be in the rightful place of head. So, of course, this woman had to step up. And there's no knock on this woman. If the man rejects his role or his place, it says in the text that even the rocks will cry out if we don't do what we're supposed to. So if a rock can cry out, why can't the womb man, the woman brought out of a man, do the same? That's not the order that Yah set. That's not what he desires. As you see, he desired for Barak to get up and go handle some stuff. But this man was negligent and refusing to do so. And it said, I should draw unto you Sisera, the commander of Yabin's army, with his chariots and his company at the Wadi Kushan, and shall give him into your hand, into Barak's hand. This is what was, he knew this. But Barak said to her, if you go with me, then I shall go. But if you don't go with me, I do not go. So he's rejecting what Yah had told him to do. And I believe Yah told him directly. This woman was challenging him on what this man already knew was his responsibility. But he said, if you don't go with me, I ain't going. And see, listen to her key words after this. And she said, I shall certainly go with you. Because in truth, this man was the one that's supposed to be in control. He's supposed to be the head. So her going, basically, he told her to go with him. He said, you're going to go with me. I don't see it as a command to her, but he basically, I ain't going without you. But she knew that he was the one in charge, or supposed to be in charge. I shall certainly go with you. Only there shall be no esteem to you. Why would she say that if she was the one that was the esteem was supposed to be to her, if she was the one that always had the authority, or supposed to have the authority? There should be no esteem to you in the journey you are taking. What Yah's basically directed you to do, you ain't gonna get no esteem in it, because you didn't do it out of obedience to Yah. You're doing it with assistance from me. And I'm like, I can't remember the exact law, but there's a law that women should not even be in war. They chose that the warriors in the law they chose them through the males, not the women. Again, women have their menstrual, they have their vulnerable time, they have pregnancy, they have all this. The warriors and the men were chosen through the men. Women weren't supposed to be in the battlefield like that. That's not what their purposes were. That's not it. Only there shall be no esteem for you in the journey you are taking, for Yahuwah is going to sell Sisera into the hand of a woman, not her, but another woman. So Deborah arose and went with Barak to Kadesh. It didn't say he went with her. No, she went with him because he was the one charged to do this, not her. That's hard for people to hear. That a lot of women have, but Deborah, they even try to go to the Brit Hadashah and talk about um um Aquila and Priscilla, and just because his name it has an A at the end, they want to make him into a female or whatever. My name is Shanquilla. That A at the end does not mean that in our culture. It does not. That's other languages that make that effeminate. That was a man and a woman. They were ministering together, and of course, if you go by the proper order, he was the head. She may be the one that has the better skill or whatever. But again, other text says, wise woman builds her home. When the woman has more of a gifting towards Yah, she should pour that into the man that's right there with her. The older women should teach the younger women. Women should not be leading over men. That's not the proper order. But if it happens that it has to happen, so be it. Me myself see myself as a man that's able and capable. So why would I sit up under a woman? I'm not in a situation where if Yah talks to me, I'm going to disobey or need a woman to guide me or take control. That's out of order. If we're in order, the proper order is from beginning, you had the man, and then the woman came as a complementary piece. Not saying that she's not capable, that I get, too much feelings come into this conversation. Women feel offended because they believe, oh, I'm capable. But really, seriously, when you think about it, women, I'm asking the women, if you have a capable man, why would you even want to lead? Why would you not want to be in your vulnerable state and be able to be covered? Where is this desire coming from to lead over men? And how do you not see that it's not proper, that is inordinate, that is out of order, that is not right? There's nothing righteous about it. I get it if you don't have a capable man around. Yes, Deborah stepped up because that man was not acting capable. He had all the tools, he had the men, yet she had to basically be there with him for him to do what he was told to do. Why would a woman want to step in that position? Why would you want to go out and fight or be in the battle? That's not your role. The man can never do your role. Man can't birth children. We can't sire the children. We can put the seed there, but we can't birth them. Why don't women see that as a valuable position? You're bringing forth life. You're fulfilling the will of Yah. Being fruitful and multiply only happens with a woman in place. Yes, the man puts forth the seed, but if the woman does not allow her vulnerability to be covered, that seed is not protected. That life is not able to go forth. And how can dominion come out of that? Why do women not see that that's a glorious position to be in? That Yah has you double covered. Yes, that man is covering you, but as that man is there, that man has a covering of Yah. So you're double covered. When you look at something that's very valuable, you protect it more. So you're valuable. You don't see your value until you lead for some reason. And it's like in the process of leading, that means that there's no being fruitful and multiplying, because being fruitful and multiply takes you away. I got to go to school, I got to go do this, go to that. And I get it. If there's no viable man out there, you got to do what you got to do. But if there's a viable man taking the lead, why are you doing that? Why are you putting off having children? But nowadays, we see children as a curse. We don't see them as practical. Again, women are choosing to be barren now. Barrenness was something that they were trying to avoid back in that days. And when it happened, a man would take on another wife. You know, you can see the situation where, okay, look at Hagar's situation. She got put in place because a promise was made to Abraham about him having just these seeds, numerous as sand. And when that, there was not a seed being birthed right away, the impatience of that woman that was going to say, "Well, take her," and the man, he complied. He let that woman take lead or give him direction. But then in the end, that same woman felt her feelings came up when that woman had that child, and she wanted her gone. And y'all like, send her away. I made my promise to you guys, not to that. And some people are like, oh, well, that must have been a sin, or that must, no, there was no sin there. That man did not commit a sin at all by being with Hagar. Not being with Hagar, but the sin came in that the promise was made, and they went and tried to fulfill it themselves instead of let Yah fulfill it. That was a problem. You go at other situations. Look at Samuel. Samuel, the 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 priest, or he was a born of a woman that basically was barren, who begged and prayed to have a child, and said, if I have this child, I'll commit it over to the ministry. Samson, his father Manoah, basically his wife was barren, and he was the product of that after prayer and stuff. You have all these different men that let me see, Hannah actually, or Samuel situation, his mother was not even the first wife. She was another wife, a secondary wife, because that man had another wife. Let me see. Let me go over here. I'm gonna go to this. Let me see. Let me see. Because I'm just speaking on stuff, and it's text to support it. So let's go over there. Let's go there. So that I don't have to just speak it. I'm gonna be a little bit more practical. All right. All right. Dealing with Shemuel, as First Samuel. And it says, and there was a certain man in Ramathaim, Zophim, of the mountains of Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, son of Yaroham, son of Elihu, son of Tohu, son of Zuph, and Ephraimite. And he had two wives. He was in polygamy. The name of one was Hannah, and the name of the other was Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. See, she didn't have no children. This woman was going through it, upset with her husband about not having no children, but her womb was closed up. So she prayed, did all this stuff, even looked to the point of drunkenness. She was so out of it, praying about having a child. Man, again, being fruitful and multiplying was seen to be favorable. That was a good thing. That was a great thing, because that was original. That was the first command: be fruitful, multiply, and have dominion. And they took that serious. Right now, we don't take being fruitful serious. We use all type of birth control, all type of means. We have made abortion, molech, into actually a birth control. If you don't want it, you kill it. We don't take responsibility nowadays. We don't see having children as practical. It just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense at all. Okay. All right. Let me see. Let me look at some of my notes I wrote. Let me see. All right. I'm gonna just read some of my notes because I probably just went somewhere here and there. But it says women have the responsibility of helping or being complementary to the man. They are to be on accord. So that's what oneness means. It's not they're not the same flesh far as, but they accord. They connect flesh and they become one, but they're on accord when it comes to the teaching. The seeds they should be in accord. A woman can have the control or the most influence when teaching the seeds because most of the time the man is out there going to get it. Modernly though, you have it where the women are going to get it. So that in itself is another issue. But women can lead in the home on the aspect of they're under a lead. They can teach the children. They can teach other women. They can go and teach the elder women can teach the younger women. But as far as teaching men, what why? Why even have that desire? But yet we see a lot of women want that desire. We see a lot of men even elevating women to do that. And that's not how Yah made it up. That's not the way it's set. But this is something that is greatly desired. It's out of order. It's not even practical, really. But this is how it is. Okay, here's another note. Basically, bodily discharge is seen as uncleanness. So, sex, you have the semen and stuff like that. But women have a monthly bodily discharge when they're healthy. That usually starts around, sometimes 12 or whatever, but some young ladies, it starts before they're 9 years old. Doesn't mean something's wrong with them or whatever, but sometimes they start having that ability to breed at an early age. And the earlier you start breeding, the more probability that you're going to have more children. But we don't see it as that. When the breeding time starts, we're like, oh, that's still too young. In our culture, in Bible times, that wasn't too young because most of the time they were trained up to be able to run a house prior to be getting to that point of being able to breed. And they wanted to take advantage of all those years of breeding because, again, your wealth and your being seen as favored, it was about your children. A man with a lot of children, woman with a lot of children was seen to be favored by Yah. Nowadays, we see that as a burden. Somebody who has a lot of children, we end up, how you gonna feed all of them? We talk about them bad. There's no trust that Yah will provide. Faith is at a minimum a lot of times. People look at someone with a lot of children and look at it and think that there's going to be a burden, there's going to be a hardship there. Oh, that the community is going to, people are reluctant to help somebody with a lot of children. They don't look at that as a favorable situation. In the days of the text we read, that was a very favorable position. That's why, polygyny was very big because having more children said you had more wealth, you had more favor from Yah, all these things. But now we see it as a hindrance and poverty. That's a curse in itself. That we can't see things the way Yah sees it, and that we're, basically trying to be practical with something that he's already let it be known. Be fruitful and multiply and have dominion. This is his desire. This is his command, and we see it as something that is forsaken or negative. Sad. Okay. Let's see. The notice said healthy women in the mature state, yet still in their youth, have menstrual cycles and birth babies, thus have unclean physical times, thus limitations in availability. These are also natural vulnerabilities. Times of covering or protection is practical. You know, polygyny was practical back then. Now, since we look at birthing children and all that as a negative, it's not practical. You know, I don't know, me myself, I've did the, I don't like the term mentor anymore due to, reading certain books, stuff like that. That term is, it has some negative connotations when you look at the historical element of it. But anyway, um, dealing with other people's children, I've tried to guide and direct some young men in my lifetime, going to the schools and trying to help out. And it's hard to say this in a way that's kind or whatever, but basically you would give them your now knowledge and your know-how. You would train them as much as you can, but then they got to go back home. And that influence from their home is always greater than what you were able to pour into them in those couple of hours. That a lot of times the lack that they suffered and all the other stuff that was going on. you know One of the young men, basically, he had everything far as clothing and everything, but he rarely had food in his belly. He didn't get to eat much. He came to school to eat, but he had Jordans on his feet, had all of the newest clothes and stuff like that. Find out his parents were hustlers, but they didn't prioritize feeding him, and he had a whole bunch of siblings that he had to watch over. So everything that I told him or whatever made sense while he was in school, and he did well while I was there. But as soon as I left, he got to cutting up or whatever, because a lot of times he was hungry. I came with food, or came, I was taking care of a natural need that was not being taken care of at home. So yes, I could pour into him, but all of that went to naught a lot of times because he had to go back to the condition that he was in when he went home. That that's just life. But if it was my child, he was my child, he would be under the condition of my home all the time. Be getting fed, have my counsel, my talking all the time. If what was doing good for him in those moments was something that he had every day, because he's my seed and I'm actually invested in him because he's my seed, his I guess the the I guess the plateau that he could reach would be greater. Now I'm pretty sure that young man, those couple of young men are adults now. They're way past adults, but I don't have any connection with them. I was invested with them, for the moment and stuff like that. And I tried to keep up with them even after they got out of school. But of course, they were living their lives, and a lot of their lives that they were living were basically reflective of what they lived in. They were hustlers themselves, trying to get ahead, thus dealing with, went going from juvenile situations to prison situations. And, you know, I couldn't really have that around my family anymore, because I would bring them around, stuff like that, when they were in school. Again, trying to show them something better, disciple them, I guess you can say. Again, training up your own children is a lot more effective, I believe. A lot of folks go forth and say, well, ministers minister to other folks. But again, when those people go home, they're able to do what they want to do and how they want to do. They don't have that person over them directing them. All right, let me see. Yeah, let me see. I kind of done just dealt with what I wanted to and the practicality. I kind of want to just end it out here. I'm gonna just read something that to me is very practical. All right, let me go to share my screen. I'm gonna read something and I'm gonna get ready to close out. So Ecclesiastes or Koheleth 3, starting with 1. For every matter, there's an appointed time, even a time for every pursuit under the heavens, a time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to uproot, a time to kill, and a time to heal, a time to break down, and a time to build up, a time to weep, and a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance, a time to throw away stones, and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek, and a time to lose, a time to keep, and a time to throw away, a time to tear, and a time to sow, a time to be silent, and a time to speak, a time to love, and a time to hate, a time to battle, and a time for peace. All right. Practicality is affected by time. Deborah led at that time that she led. The men were at a deficit. They weren't handling their business. So it became practical that whoever was willing to, and not saying that women are not capable, again, she stepped up. But again, an exception is not a rule. She was an exception. We have a lot of women that want to step into this role of being an exception, but we have men that are stepping up, that are stepping to the position, especially within Israel. It's common that there are more men than women a lot of times in Israel. So this is not Christianity. You don't have to lead. You choose to lead. You have an opportunity to be vulnerable. But I get it. I get it. Your past experience with men deem it, to you unsafe and not practical to be vulnerable with men. But when you're on your menstrual, you're vulnerable. When you birthing children, you're vulnerable. And if you're running from those things, how are we going to be fruitful and multiply and have dominion? We already see polygyny is being attacked. Okay, but it's there in the word. It was happening. Right now, even if the people that are operating are not doing it for having children or to be fruitful and multiply, I kind of wonder if it's really practical. But nowadays you can have a one man, one woman situation and they can have multiple seeds, but a lot of times people run from having that. There are some of us out here that are, being fruitful and multiplying in monogamous situations. And I basically say, hey, you know, you have situations where maybe the womb no more can no longer do anything. You know, we have done so much to ourselves that now hysterectomies become a normal thing occurring with our women. You know, I don't understand it. I didn't get a vasectomy. I'm not cutting off my stuff. I can still have seeds. Still can. If a man chooses not to have seeds and yet choose to enter into polygyny, tell me what's that about? If that's not about him trying to add, I guess maybe a helper to the home or his sexual thing, get off or whatever, what is it? Because you're definitely not trying to be fruitful and multiply. But again, not your judge. That's between you and Yah, you and your spouses. But Abba Yah, I thank you for this day. I thank you for the Shabbat. I hope that any information that I put forth is practical for the season. Um, May those that have words to share with me go forth with it. If they have any disagreement or even things they agree with, let's have the communication. I thank you for making them feel open to share with me their thoughts and make me be open to receive whatever thoughts so that iron can sharpen iron and we can move forward and honor you. Shabbat Shalom again. I thank you, Yah, for this time. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.